going to start prepping soon. I want to start by saying that the little things in life matter. That's something I realized. Little things in life matter. Things we do and say can have a big impact. After all, it takes just a spark of a match to set a whole forest on fire. And the reason why it does is because we serve a big God. When we see an ocean of problems around us, He sees dry land. Just like Moses and the Israelites, when they saw rocks in the desert, He saw streams of flowing water. When we see brokenness and imperfection and sin, what He sees is redemption, righteousness, and holiness strictly in the blood of Christ. That's something I've come to realize. So what I want to do is just want to give a Cliff Notes version of how I became a Christian and how I started with the servants. I was born a very, very long time ago. Galaxy far away. Both my parents are Nigerian. My mom went to U of I, and my dad went to school in Texas, so they met here. They got married, and after they had myself and my two siblings, they decided to move back to Nigeria. So I was raised in Nigeria from '88 till August till '04. I was 16 at the time, just got done with high school. Then I came to the United States. So I was raised in a Christian home, I would say. My mom was definitely the spiritual leader in the house. My dad not so much. He worked a lot. So I was raised in a Christian home, so I sort of knew who Christ was and I knew what the gospel was, but I didn't really understand it fully. I just knew that, okay, there's Jesus in this Bible, but I didn't understand it. I got here in 2004. I was 16, I started college. And from 2004 to 2007, I didn't go to church at all. Not because I didn't want to or I didn't care, I just didn't go. But in that time, for some reason, no one forced me, no one persuaded me. I decided to read the Bible. So what I did was I would read the Bible. I decided to do it every week, at least usually Saturdays. Just read the Bible, a chapter every week. And as I did that, in those 3 years, I just realized my life started to change a little bit. Just started to see a little difference. The clearest thing I can remember was one Saturday morning. It was really bright. I was reading through Romans 5 and 6, and I just started crying because I think that was the first time I ever understood the gospel fully. Because Paul was talking about, how while we're still sinful, Christ died for us, and how through Adam sin came into the world, and through Jesus, we have redemption. I just started crying. I was like, wow, that was the first time I ever understood the gospel. So after that time, I still wasn't going to church, but I was starting to understand what the gospel was. In 2007, my mom visited for summer vacation, and she took a walk one day, and she came back home, and she was like, "There's a church just literally 2 steps away from the house." I was like, "Okay, check it out." That Sunday, I went there, and I ended up staying there for 3 years. While I was at that church, in 2009, I realized that I was missing something. And that thing I was missing was Christian fellowship, because everyone at the church was literally either 10 to 50 years older than me or 10 years younger than me. So I didn't have, the only guy who was like a year older than me was married, so it was pretty busy, I guess. You do things when you're married. Sorry, I apologize. But it was busy. So I didn't have any fellowship or any I wasn't in a youth group or anything. I didn't know what it meant to have Christian friends. So in the summer of 2009, I was praying Lord, what I want is more Christian friends, because I don't have any. Then school started. I started UIC in August of 2008. So this was a year after I started. School started, and it was the first 2 weeks and nothing happened. So until one night I was in the library studying, and when I got done studying, I was like, I'm just gonna head home. So if you're staying in the library, I was in the 3rd floor, and if you're facing West Campus, there's 2 fountains, one on the left and one on the right. And that night I actually had drank water twice from the one on the left. So I thought about to leave. Some people just go get another drink of water before you leave. The craziest thing was a friend of mine, a couple weeks weeks, I think the semester before that was like, it was like one day we're in the library and he was like, do you know that the water on the right side is cooler than the left side? So I literally decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the one on the right this time. So I went to the fountain, I got down, got a drink of water, and I raised my head, and as I turned, the first thing I see was like this little poster, and it says servants on it. And I walked up to it and I read it, and little did I know that just reading this, my life is about to be changed forever, So I read the poster, it says, large group, small group, I think mini-O's, movie nights at the Rathskeller. I didn't know where the Rathskeller was at the time, so I did some research in the week after. It's funny because when I first got here, I wasn't really intimidated because, everyone's Asian. But I really felt welcome. I gotta say that. Really, from the first day, it was nuts. I later found out that the people who posted the poster was Kenneth Park and Byung-Soo Kim. So shout out to Kenny.
Oh yeah.
I never really said thank you, but I want to say thank you, brother. I very appreciate that. The funny thing was, the week before I came, actually, there's a sister here, and the week before I came, she was praying for more diversity, and the week that she was praying was the week I found the poster. Then I showed up the next week, and it's just like, the way God moves is just crazy. And ever since then, it's just been amazing. The fellowships, the bonding, and everything, just like being involved in small group, leading a small group. I mean, you guys are amazing. It's been awesome. I say all that to say this, like I said in the beginning, the little things we do matter. When Kenny and BK posted the flyer, they didn't have no idea that some random black guy would just find this and be super blessed. I mean, they didn't. They did such a little thing, and God just multiplied it and used it in an awesome way. So, what I want to encourage us is, even as I graduated already, I'm working full time now, and just encourage you guys that the little things you do matter. Like even if you're just serving, taking on the drums or posting a flyer, whatever you do, the little things matter. Like God uses those things and He multiplies them if we're faithful in them. And who knows, maybe one of you will be the match that God uses to light the forest on fire for Christ. Love you guys.